Nine Dragons by Chen Rong, with a date that translates to 1244 AD, Song-Dynasty, China. This is another long scroll like the one we looked at the other day by Yamamoto Baitsu, except that this one is by a Chinese artist, Chen Rong, and as you can see, the date is in the medieval times, so quite a few centuries earlier than Yamamoto Baitsu, who was in the middle of the 1800s. But what you can see here that has a continuity of tradition is this long scroll, and so I thought it'd be fun to just kind of look at it together. This is actually the first time that I will be inspecting it closely. And one of the first things that I notice as I look at it is this interesting way that the dragons tend to be depicted against a backdrop of dark ink, these sort of dark ink blots that sort of frame the dragon. And this compositional device was also used by Hokusai in one of the last paintings of his life, showing a dragon rising up over a plume of smoke above Mount Fuji. And again, I'm struck by the way that the Japanese depictions of dragons are really just sort of lifted directly from the Chinese depictions of dragons. There don't seem to be that many differences. Maybe somebody who is more of an expert would be able to tell me some little things that might be different in the way that dragons are depicted in Japanese traditional painting. But to me, it does seem to be very similar to the traditional Chinese painting style for dragons. I love the way that the artists who employ dragons as compositional devices, well, let's say I love the way that the artists who paint dragons use them as compositional devices. Their long, sinuous bodies lend themselves very well to these beautiful, undulating compositions. And this is a curious one. I'm not really sure what's supposed to be going on here. It almost looks like this is a gigantic dragon set behind mountains, but then it looks like he's sort of resting on top of, if those were mountains, they'd be upside down. So I don't know if I'm interpreting that right. It might be that these are just rocks, and maybe part of the rocks are concealed by mist or clouds, and we're just seeing the dragon sort of kind of perched on a cliff or something like that. And now we come to a section of text. I'm not sure what it says. I wish I could read it. I wish I knew what it said. They don't tell the translation in the source where I got this image. At any rate, I love the pairing of poetry with art. I just think it's so powerful. And yeah, I really wish that more of the museum websites and different outlets that sort of have these things available would put a little bit more into translating these kind of texts. And now the rocks end and we seem to come to this section of waves. Look at this interesting ink splatter here. It's kind of like an impression of rain or some sort of rough weather. Again, beautiful sense of mist rising up with those light gray ink blots. And coming up on the next dragon here, this one has a sphere or circle of something circular or spherical in its claw, and that's very curious. I wonder what that means. I wonder if there's some sort of indication of what that is in the text that we see above. Is this dragon some kind of thief? Did it steal some sort of sacred object? Very interesting. Very interesting also, the way that the dragons seem to be like intimately involved with weather, with rain, clouds, water. They really are the perfect sort of exemplar of a subject matter that goes hand in hand with the artist's desire for expressiveness, these expressive brushstrokes, the force and vigor of, these powers of nature. They really just, I love the way they lend themselves to this sort of expression. And you can see that the artist is reveling in that here with this big sort of brushstroke that terminates in a spiral. It's just a beautiful, expressive touch that seems to really take all this energy and focus it and concentrate it. And again, it's like the form of the dragons themselves being the sinuous thing. They kind of, you see that here in this eddy, in this vortex. I'm going to go ahead and read for you a paragraph from Wikipedia that gives a little bit more cultural context to the artwork. As always, take Wikipedia with a grain of salt. Nine Dragons is a hand-scroll painting by Chinese artist Chen Rong. Painted in 1244, it depicts the apparitions of dragons soaring amidst clouds, mist, whirlpools, and rocky mountains and fire. The painting refers to the dynamic forces of nature in Taoism and the liquid, water-like essences of the Tao. It depicts the depicted dragons are associated with 9 sons of the Dragon King, while the number 9 itself is considered auspicious in Chinese astrology and folk beliefs. So they do mention Taoism there, and of course the yin-yang symbol is from Taoism, and it's kind of, I don't know if it's cheesy, but I kind of maybe am projecting that a little bit in that swirl we're looking at there on the right-hand side with the dark and light colors kind of circling around each other. And now we're coming to 2 dragons that seem to be in some kind of a fight, or maybe they may be fighting or squaring off against each other. It's kind of cool the way that you've got this beautiful, harmonious composition that still has this intense sense of power and like almost the violence of nature. The violence of nature is still somehow harmonious. It's still somehow like it's all part of the greater scheme of things, the grand design. And I just really like that. Yeah, you can see this dragon here on the left-hand side with the mouth open and kind of growling or roaring at this other one, who seems maybe even a little bit worried. Yeah, this is an interesting one on the lower left. This is a depiction sort of unlike ones I'm used to. Maybe looks like it has like white hair, or it looks like kind of maybe this is an older dragon. I don't know. Beautiful, anyway. Now look what's happening. The white space, which again now starts to feel like this massive clouds. This sort of white space chokes off the previous scene, and suddenly we're in a new space. We see these rocks, and we get this powerful gushing forth of these 3 sections of water, kind of like a waterfall, flowing, gushing from these rocks. And yeah, it's an interesting compositional device to break up the previous scene and introduce kind of a new scene. Really effective, really beautiful. Again, look at the texture in those dark sections that just elegantly separate the cloud from the water. It's a simple solution, but it's so effective and so cool the way that he's done it. Again, there's a stamp seal up there. I have no idea what that's about, other than I know that's a more archaic form of the Chinese script. Maybe somebody with more expertise can weigh in the comments below. And you see we're entering here a new section full of turbulence, full of this wonderful, tumultuous water, these much more violent waves, and just beautiful the way that the swirls in the mist and clouds get mixed up with the swirling waters and the swirling form of the dragon as it snakes through the waves and peeking out over here. You can see its claw coming out through the white water. And I just love this section. I think this is my favorite section, this kind of peak of climactic energy. Gorgeous swirls, just so much going on. You can feel the wind just battering these waves, blowing them in this direction. And this is the way we're moving is the direction that the scroll was meant to be sort of read in. So it kind of makes sense to have the wind and waves moving in this way. We're close to the end now. We've only got 2 more dragons to look at, and I don't have that much more to say, so I'll just sort of let you enjoy looking at it and let the music play. And I want to thank you for taking your time to look at this magnificent artwork with me. I hope you enjoyed it, and I do hope you'll like and subscribe, and keep a lookout for the next video.